Hi guys, it's Mel and welcome to today's video where finally I'm gonna get my visa. Now, I started the passport process back in December 2014. December 2014. 10 months later, I had a visa appointment at the embassy. If you missed the story of how to get this appointment, there's a link in the description for you, or you can click on the I thing that's over there. So we're picking up the story the day before I have to be at the embassy in Paris. Now, if you're not familiar with France geography, here's a map. There's Lyon, where I am studying. There's my hometown, where I am registered, so I had to go back every time I needed a single paper. And there's Paris, where the embassy is. Now, if you're taking the train Paris to Lyon or Lyon to Paris is up to 2 hours if the train is a bullet train and is not late or on strike for any reason. And my plan was to take the first train on Friday morning, get to the embassy for like an early afternoon appointment and come back the same day. The thing is, I couldn't ask for a early afternoon appointment. I had to choose between 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m., which basically is the same hour. And there was no way, even if I took the first train, like very first train in the morning, there was no way I was going to make it in time. Because the train station isn't very close to the embassy. And also because I don't trust French trains. I didn't have class the afternoon of the Thursday, which was the day before, except for like a Russian class in the evening, but I could skip that. The thing is, hotels in Paris are hell of expensive, and I didn't want to just like pay a hotel and stay the night just for visa. The visa itself is already really expensive, so I was like, I need to figure out another way to get to Paris. So I figured my best option was to travel by night, but there's no train during the night, so I had to find another way. And one good thing that we have in France is an app called BlaBlaCar, which is a carpool app thing. And I found someone that was driving up from Marseille, which is down south, and he was traveling up to Paris by night, going through Lyon, so he could pick me up in Lyon. And it was kind of a perfect timing, because he was supposed to be in Lyon around 2 a.m., which means that we would be in Paris around 7. So on Thursday night, we had a party at one friend's place. I don't remember what it was for. Was it Halloween? It was either a Halloween party or a housewarming party. I don't remember. Yeah, I think they just moved in their new apartment. So anyway, that's not the story. We had a party. So my plan was to stay there, leave around 1:30, and then bike to the train station where my carpool driver person was supposed to pick me up at 2 a.m. That was a good plan. So I was partying, not drinking too much because alcohol is bad for you, and also because I had an appointment at the embassy in less than 12 hours. But then I got a text from my driver who said, I left Marseille earlier than expected, I'm gonna be here in half an hour. It was just midnight and I was nowhere close to the train station where I was supposed to be in half an hour. So I grabbed my stuff, I said goodbye to like half of the people here, not even explaining myself, and like a panicking drunk Cinderella, I sprinted out of the building, jumped on my bike, and biked very fast to the train station. Now, surprisingly, there was still a couple of people in the train station neighborhood, so it wasn't that creepy. Now, if you're not familiar with Pardieu, which is the train station where I was meeting my driver, it has a train station, obviously, and there's a huge shopping center, like a mall, next to it, which is, I think, the biggest in Europe, so it's big. So I couldn't find the guy, and he called me saying, I'm in front of the door, and I was like, I'm in front of the door as well, but there's a billion doors on this thing, so I was panicking a little bit, and he was getting angry, and he was yelling at me, and so I was panicking more because I don't like stranger yelling at me. But eventually I found him. We're gonna call him James for the sake of this video, because I don't want to use his name, and also I forgot his name. But anyway, James was driving a black sports car with smoked glass windows. Now, I don't want to be stereotypical here, but that's not usually the type of guy that I trust. So we left Lyon, it was 12:30. The drive is about 5 hours. Well, not really, but if you like count breaks and stuff, let's say it's 5 hours. So we're supposed to arrive in Paris at 5:30, an hour and a half ahead of schedule, but it was fine. I was like, 5:30 is still morning-ish. We arrived at 4:30. That's right, we were there in 4 hours, including a coffee break where James not only drank a coffee but also apparently 5 liters of Red Bull, and we literally drove at 150 kilometers per hour. Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all, obviously because he was driving so fast. I was terrified for my life. And I arrived there, he just dropped me and then drove off to the wilderness of Paris. And I was there completely alone, in the dark, not having slept for almost 24 hours, yes. Now, 4 a.m. is basically the middle of the night. No one was there, especially since he dropped me in La Défense, which is a business center. And I had no idea where to go, and the subway, the underground thing, was closed because it was too early. So I found the only lamppost that I could find, and I sat under it and just waited. Eventually the underground opened and I took it to the city center, which was much better and much more reassuring for me. I took a couple of pictures as well. Here's some of them. Now, it was actually quite cool. I walked around taking pictures and the city was like waking up around me, and I found a little cafe where I could take breakfast because I was hungry as well as being sleepy. So that was cool. The day was slowly getting better. After breakfast began the real adventure, finding the embassy. Now, you'd think that the US embassy is quite easy to find, right? It's not like Zimbabwe embassy or whatever other country that no one knows where it is. After walking around for an hour, nearly dying, crossing a roundabout that I didn't realize had a tunnel to go underground, and I was crossing like the streets and Parisian people can't drive for shit, I had found the embassy of Belgium, Malta, Taipei, Burkina Faso, Vietnam, and the Peruvian consulate. And no US embassy! Now, I still had an hour left, so I was not panicking, really, but I was still a bit stressed out because where was that building? I looked at the directions again and I decided to walk back where the building was supposed to be according to my map, and it was there. Somehow in the last hour I managed to pass by a giant American flag and like 6 armed guards for 5 times without noticing that it could be the embassy. So a quick description of what was happening. I was crossing the road and I was met with a shelter thingy, the type that you put up for wedding in case it rains. That thing with a desk under it and 2 guards, one at the desk and one just standing there. In front of the shelter there were the most organized line of people that I've ever seen in France. And then at the end of the line there was another guard who was obviously less important than the other 2 because he wasn't in the shelter. Which is maybe why he looked so grumpy. Grumpy Jack said something to me that I didn't understand. And he must have seen that I didn't get what he said, because he said it again in French, but I still didn't get it. Because he had a strong accent, and I for some reason couldn't understand either French or English. But he was gesturing towards my bag, so I assumed that he wanted me to open my bag. Which is a logical thing to do. I mean, I'm about to enter the embassy, you want to check if I don't have a bomb or something. That's logical, right? So I started opening my bag, which was a one-shoulder strap thingy type of bag, and I was having trouble because in one hand I was holding my passport and all of my papers, and in the other hand I was holding my jacket and my scarf. So I was struggling to balance everything and not drop it and embarrass myself in front of like 10 people and 3 grumpy guards. When Grumpy Jack started yelling very aggressively, "Ouvrez le sac! Ouvrez le sac!" which is French with a strong accent for open your bag, and I was confused because that's what I was doing. I was opening my bag. But then someone waiting in line took pity of me and told me that I was supposed to give him my bag. Listening better to Grumpy Jack, I could hear Olivier Lissac and not Ouvrier Lissac, which is very close but so different. So I tried to give him my bag, but I forgot that I had put my jumper on top of the strap thing of my bag, so I couldn't take it off without taking off my jumper, but I was still holding my scarf, my jacket, my papers, everything, and also my bag was half open. So with Grumpy Jack watching me like, what the fuck is wrong with her, and everyone in the line probably judging how terrible that was at life, I somehow untangled myself from everything without dropping too much of my stuff and gave him my bag, which he just placed on a metal detector thingy. That was it. I mean, you could have said it before. And I was then told to turn off my phone and go back at the end of the line and wait. So I was standing there waiting, doing nothing. Other people arrived after me, none of them having trouble with their bags. Until Captain Grumpyface told us to walk forward one by one to give our papers to someone, like the person that was at the desk. So I walked toward the desk and this guy just like checked my name off of a list that looked like a deportation list because it has so many names and number. And then I was told to go back in line and wait again. And after maybe 15 minutes, another guard walked out of the building and came towards us and like one by one asked us if we had our DS-2019, our I-901, our I-160, our passports, our appointment number and stuff like that. And she folded and attached everything together in a very specific way with like a thick rubber band so that we don't mess with it. And I assumed it was part of the process, so I didn't question it. And then she just walked back to the building and we were still here waiting. Shortly after, we were allowed to enter the embassy. Now, obviously, you don't enter the embassy straight away. That would be too easy. You go through a security thing building where basically there's like 5 or 6 guards inside of it. And it's kind of like an airport security thing with like the blue basket thing where you put all your stuff. But you're not the one putting all your stuff in here. You just give them your bag and your jacket and everything. And someone is unfolding everything in front of you. Now, the security guard that was dealing with my bag and stuff was much nicer than the one outside of the building. Let's just put it out there. So he took away everything that wasn't allowed in the embassy, which is my camera, my phone, my keys, my toothpaste for some reason, my iPod, basically everything fun. He put that in the Ziploc bag, put it in the locker with the number and gave me the tag number that says 203. And he was like, that's to pick up your stuff. Don't forget them. Of course I wasn't going to forget them. You have my camera. And then he found an apple in my bag and he asked me to walk back outside and put it on a shelf with other food stuff like sandwiches and stuff. Because food wasn't allowed in the embassy. I don't know, they may be afraid of germs or stuff. So I had to walk back outside, put my apple on the shelf, and then go through security again. And then I was allowed in the embassy, which is so much nicer and welcoming and inviting compared to the guards that are here to terrify you outside. It was great. A guy told me to wait in line again. This line was moving very fast. In like a minute or two, I was called at a desk where another grumpy person, a lady this time, asked me for my papers, like DS-2019 and everything. She only looked at one, which I think was the I-160, and she looked at it and was like, okay, good, do your job. And then she asked me for fingerprints. Now, surely, even me can't fucked up fingerprints. You'd think so. So she asked me to place 4 fingers on the scanning thing device, which was fine, and then 4 fingers from my other hand, which was fine again. And then she asked me to put my 2 thumbs together on the screen, on the scanning screen thingy. Now, you can do this, right? But somehow I forgot. I tried to put my thumbs together with my other fingers straight, so it was like this. But because hands are made that way, if you want your thumbs to be flat, these fingers are in the way. Camera stopped recording again. That's the 2nd time today. Anyway, as I was saying, I was trying to put my fingers, I don't know where it cut down, but I was trying to put my thumbs specifically on the thing without bending my other fingers. And I somehow struggled, but managed to put them both flat next to each other, like standing like this, weirdly above the thing. It worked. I looked stupid, I know it. She was probably judging me. But anyway, I managed to do it. That was done. She then put a stamp thing on my papers and told me to go to the waiting room to wait for my visa interview. So in the waiting room you wait for your number to be called, and my number was 403 and they were currently calling 376. So I had a long time to wait, but it was the last step. The interview is basically to prove them, as I was applying for a non-immigrant visa, it's basically to prove them that you do not intend to emigrate to the United States. So the best way to do that, I've been told, was to bring your plane ticket for the return so that they know that you're planning to come back. So I did that. I had my plane tickets, but I also had like a speech in my head to like prove them that I don't want to stay to the US because I love France and blah blah blah. So during the 26 people that were called before me, I had quite a lot of time to study the process, and I figured that when they called my number, I had two options, basically. Two desks were almost ready to move on to the next person. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be called by either one of those. One of them was an old lady, like, not old, but like older than the other one. She was probably 50, 55, looking so grumpy again. She was like, not happy, not fun looking, and she looked terrifying, to be honest. She had talked to the previous person for almost 20 minutes, which is at least twice as long as the other ones. So I was like, I don't want to go with her. The other one was a very young, nice looking, smiling lady, so I was like, please, can I please be called by this woman instead of the other one? And somehow, old lady decided to take her break at that exact moment. So I was called by the other person, the very nice looking isn't really important, but friendly looking lady was important. That's the point I'm trying to make. I was so glad she called me. I gave her the paper, she smiled at me, she like scanned a few numbers, and then she asked for my fingerprints again. But this time only the four fingers on my left hand. For some reason the left hand had to be taken twice. And then we started the interview, and this is how it went. So, why are you going to the United States? Well, I'm going there for 6 months to study forestry because my school offers an exchange program, and Oregon seems to have a really good natural resources program, so I wanted to go there because I believe they have the same kind of issues than us, so it could be really interesting to learn forestry from a different point of view. Well, I think it's wonderful. Your visa has been issued and will arrive within 2 to 5 days. Enjoy your stay. That was it. I left because she clearly was done with me, but I couldn't believe it. Like, everyone had told me it was so stressful and you really needed to prove that you will be coming back. And I didn't need it to show her anything, like plane tickets or anything. I just say, yeah, I'm going to study forestry, so what? And she was like, cool, let's go. But seriously, with everything else that went wrong, I was quite glad that this was kind of easy. So I was like, okay, let's get out of here as soon as possible. And in my hurry on my way back, I somehow missed the giant sign that says, please wait here to pick up belongings. And I passed it and crossed the gate or door thingy that somehow was a one-way only. Like, once I was on the other side and I realized that I was actually outside, I couldn't go back in. I still had the other gate, like the bigger gate to go through, but the security thing was behind me and all my stuff were behind me. So I weirdly had to re-enter the security building without any bags or anything, and I just had the tag with my number on it. So I had to weirdly explain myself and be like, yeah, I missed the sign that said go back inside. So can I have my stuff, please? And I got yelled at. Once I had everything, I exited the building as fast as I could without looking too suspicious. And once I was in the street, I realized I forgot my apple. Now, I didn't care how hungry I was gonna get on the way back to Lyon. I was not about to go back there just for an apple. So I just left. Sorry, apple. I hope they gave you to a horse. And finally, after 10 months and I don't know how many post stamps, I got my visa. I got my visa, which means I could go to the US in December, but that's gonna be for another time because I've been recording for ages. Make sure you're here next Sunday for the rest of the story. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on this bubble thingy so that you get notification every time I upload. You can also click here. That will take you to last week's video. I hope you'll have a great week and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye bye!